Disco Elysium is one of those games that's really difficult to talk about without making a feature-length film about the disasters of colonialism and failed revolutions that rivals Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love, and this is for good reason. To put it simply, the game is too long and complex with loads of different paths determined by your own actions for someone to attempt to truly capture the essence of the game in one video. This isn't a game where you can save scum at every significant story beat to see all the game's content. Your actions have long-lasting, dramatic impacts on your relationships and the world around you, so as a player, you have to accept that you are only capable of seeing the world from one perspective. If you really want to get at what this game is, you have to start from a smaller scale. It might be best then to understand Revachol, the city the game takes place in, from the perspective of someone who has seen the city and the world around it for a long time. You could see it from the perspective of someone who wants to understand themselves and their surroundings in a world that yields no easy answers. You could see it from someone who is widely beloved by fans of the game, and who also might be a bit misunderstood. I am talking, of course, about Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi. What is Kim Kitsuragi? Like many characters in Disco Elysium, you can go through the entire game without really learning that much about him. Now, to be fair, your character is a shambling amnesiac drunk who's supposed to be solving the murder of a man you left hanging in a tree for a week while you were on an apocalyptic bender, so you've got enough of your own problems to worry about. However, unlike other characters, Kim Kitsuragi is one of the first characters you meet and spends the vast majority of the game by your side. As a result, many players feel a strong personal connection to him, but this impression seems to come more from a mechanical perspective than observing him as a character with agency. To put it simply, many people see him as just an infinitely wholesome guy who is endlessly forgiving of you, occasionally sarcastic, and deserving of all of your pity, because he's so patient with you and you keep screwing things up and he's just so patient and nice. And one particular explanation I've heard is that he needs to be endlessly forgiving of your endlessly flawed main character in order for the game to work mechanically. Now, it's understandable why some players would come to this conclusion. When you first meet him, one of the multiple voices inside your head tells you that he would throw himself in harm's way for you. From that point on, his portrait, which looks a lot like angelic paintings from the pre-Renaissance, will sit in the bottom left corner of the screen for the rest of the game. However, if you dig deeper into his character, it's clear that these parts of his design have more to say than that he's just super nice and patient all the time. For one, he absolutely does not need to be endlessly nice and forgiving to you, and you know that because he doesn't do that. You can screw up enough times for him to pull you aside and tell you that he will take over the investigation himself if you prove to be detrimental to the case. There are also situations where he will distance himself from you if you piss him off enough, and without going into spoilers, while the game is significantly more difficult without him, Kim Kitsuragi is not necessary for the story to progress. The point here is that Kim Kitsuragi isn't some hopelessly nice, pitiable companion at the mercy of the game's mechanics. He has direct agency over the world around him, even more than he might want you to believe. The question then is, what does he use that agency for? Where is Kim Kitsuragi? Kim Kitsuragi was born in Revachol, a city on the isla of Insulinde, to two half-soul-light parents. He showed an early interest in mechanics and grew up wanting to become an aerostatic pilot, inspired by the pilots of the Communist Revolutionary Air Brigades. This might be a bit surprising, because in-game, he's an ardent officer of the Revachol Citizens Militia, the on-paper police force of Revachol. But the more you understand the politics of this world and his own political perspective, the more this makes sense. The Communist Revolution in Revachol is widely recognized as a catastrophic failure. While it overthrew the previous monarchy, the commune it established was massacred by the Free Market Coalition. While they occurred several decades ago, these events have left Revachol in the decrepit state it's in today. Kitsuragi lived through the revolution, and like most other people of Revachol, he did his best to take stock of the world around him and sought what he saw as the best way forward. The central government is the presiding force over Insulinde. Its members follow moralism, a sort of cushy liberal ideology that defines itself more by its opposition to ideology than actually having any substantial ideas. Kitsuragi sees them as the best chance Revachol has to recover. This isn't necessarily because he believes they're correct. In his own words, the moral intern are a fact. I try not to have opinions on facts until they change, and it doesn't look like that's about to happen. They're the political force currently with the most power, and no one has been powerful enough to oppose them for decades. Most importantly though, Kim Kitsuragi has lived to see his city become a monarchy, a commune, and an incorporated city-state, all of which tore the city apart. It's understandable why someone like him would be averse to any ideology, regardless of its politics. The RCM is an organization of the central government, and Kitsuragi takes pride in that, because it represents the one thing he thinks has potential to make Revachol better. Even if he doesn't like a lot of their decisions, he stands by them because, more than anything, he wants to protect the city he calls home. Of course, this position comes with its own problems. For one, he's acutely aware that not many people truly see him as Revacholian. When the racist lorry driver outside the docks tells him, "Welcome to Revachol," he breaks, and makes it plain and clear that he was born and raised in Revachol just like anyone else. Most of the time, he's pretty calm and collected in the face of any explicit racism. Every time you meet a racist character, he tells you, the next racist will be better. He shrugs it off and jokes about it a lot, but it clearly bothers him that few people see him as a part of the place he calls home. Secondly, the RCM has very limited power, and the people know it. Unlike police forces in unspecified America country, RCM detectives don't have things like qualified immunity or broken windows policies that criminalize marginalized people and allow officers to get away with murder. In Martinet, they're severely outperformed by the dock workers union in terms of solving crime. Most people just see them as senseless bootlickers, which, yeah, they kinda are. Kitsuragi knows all of this and has his own misgivings of the RCM too. He tells you that many officers still abuse the very limited power they have, and the only reason you two are paired together for this investigation was because of a pissing contest between your two respective districts. He might seem very by-the-books and stiff-nosed at first, but it's quickly apparent that he's not uncritically loyal to the RCM. However, it does give him a sense of order and hope that he'd rather not live without. In fact, if you treat him like absolute shit later in the game, he'll tell you that he's very irritated that you always call him Kim and never Lieutenant Kitsuragi. The sense of order and duty granted by the RCM gets him through the day. It's not perfect, but he knows this isn't a world that can afford perfect ideas. You may not agree with his beliefs, but you can understand why he decided to stick by the RCM over anything else. When is Kim Kitsuragi? Lieutenant Kitsuragi has lived to see 3 different Revachols: the long, oppressive Suzerain monarchy, the short-lived Mazovian commune that overthrew them, and the free market coalition that massacred them, leaving behind the bloated, collapsing world we see decades later. Lieutenant Kitsuragi joined the RCM when he was 23 and worked in the juvenile wing for 15 years. He trained for 9 months to infiltrate a pinball ring. After this, he was transferred to Homicide, where he has worked ever since. His colleagues nicknamed him Kimball, and he now detests that name and pinball in general. Before you, he had another partner, nicknamed Eyes, because Lieutenant Kitsuragi is far-sighted. Lieutenant Kitsuragi rarely mentions him, but whenever he comes up, he seems overcome with an overwhelming sorrow. It's easy to say that Lieutenant Kitsuragi is admirable or pitiable for how much faith he puts in his job after all the things he's been through. It's important to understand that he's seen his home change in so many ways that ultimately have led to destruction. He won't admit that his interest in mechanics is inspired by the Revolutionary Air Brigades, not only because they contributed in part to the destruction of his home, but also because they failed to liberate it. Like many people in Revachol, he's seen his world both change dramatically and go nowhere. He might be a centrist with no substantial politics, but this isn't because of ignorance, he's just tired. He's tired of seeing everything people put faith in Revachol lead to disappointment at best and catastrophe at worst. He puts faith in the RCM because, at least there, he can find comfort believing the small changes he does make are doing the right thing. And it's kinda hard to blame him. Responding to the past is something everyone in Revachol does. The woman dumping paint over the apartment walls detests all authority and uses her art to understand Revachol in the present. Measurehead tries to make sense of the land's history using eugenics and race science. The McClare brothers use manipulation and corruption to give the dock workers union full control of Martinet, not because they're greedy, but because they believe that's Revachol's best chance at a future. The 2 men outside the whirling in rags, playing some old ballgame, argue over times before the war, and their rivalry over a woman who's long since dead. I could go on about this all day, because every character is reacting to Revachol's history in some way. In Disco Elysium, the passage of time is a lingering thing that is simultaneously non-existent and unavoidable. The world is slowly crawling apart, and nothing anyone's done about it has worked. The best thing anyone can do is find faith in some idea lying around and cling to it. In this respect, Lieutenant Kitsuragi is one of many. Who is Kim Kitsuragi? Kim Kitsuragi is his own man. Kim Kitsuragi is a self-described torque dork. He loves cars and maintains his own Kubrick Nemo with passion. He adores the tip-top tourney auto race, and when you read him an article about how the race is disaster porn, he scoffs at it as amateurish writing. Kim Kitsuragi always has a cigarette before he goes to bed. He knows it's a bad habit, but it's a habit that gets him to look forward to the end of each day. He thinks it's kind of cool, though he won't admit it. Despite his farsightedness, Kim Kitsuragi passed 7 out of 10 of his shooting exams. Kim Kitsuragi has killed 2 people in the line of duty, and regrets being there for both of them. Kim Kitsuragi is so many other things that I don't know, because they never came up in my own playthrough. For all the different histories and ideologies that bind our characters to this world, it can be hard to remember that all those characters are also people. Their identities can be so easily lost in the slow-lipping chaos that is this world. But just when this game makes you feel yourself losing grip with the world around you, it throws someone new at you. A delectably manipulative union boss, a married couple of fervent cryptid hunters, a trucker who exists more in spirit than body. No matter how much this world decays, or how transient people's identities become, the game never lets you believe those identities have disappeared. Kim Kitsuragi is not a poet, yet he relishes the chance to add a title to his investigations in his notebook. He likes to keep them short and simple. His name for your investigation is The Hanged Man. Very creative, I know. However, if you go to check his notebook later in the game, you see he's changed it to something entirely different. The Furies are at home in the mirror. This is taken from the poem Reflections by Welsh poet R.S. Thomas.
The Furies are at home in the mirror. It is their address. Even the clearest water, if deep enough, can drown. Never think to surprise them. Your face, approaching ever so friendly, is the white flag they ignore. There is no truce with the Furies. A mirror's temperature is always at 0. It is ice in the veins. Its camera is an X-ray. It is a chalice held out to you in silent communion where gaspingly you partake of a shifting identity never your own.
It's no coincidence that this was, for a long time, the game's working title. Kim Kitsuragi is not just a man. He is a present, imperfect reminder of everything that this game is. He is an assurance that no matter how deep you fall into this world, no matter how oppressive it becomes, or how distant your own identity might seem, it's very difficult for us to become hopelessly lost. Kim Kitsuragi helps make sure you never get that far. He's a reason to have hope. The simplest way I can put it is that Kim Kitsuragi is Revachol. Hey y'all, thank you for watching to the end of the video. I want to get a couple quick announcements out of the way. First of all, I have a coffee now. If you like the work that I do and you want to support this channel, you can drop me some money in the link in the description. Coffee is not a monthly subscription, it is a one-time donation. You can give whatever you like, whenever you like, and any amount is very appreciated. Again, the link to my coffee is in the description. Secondly, I want to give a big thanks to Nin, who was the editor for this video. My life has been a little all over the place recently, and I wouldn't have been able to get this video out if it weren't for him. This video is just as much his work as it is mine, and so if you like this video, go show him some love. I'll link some of his other work in the description below. I also want to give a big thanks to Vivian Alodrin, who read the R.S. Thomas poem earlier. She is an excellent video essayist here on YouTube who makes videos on a variety of topics. But I think especially her videos on games see them from a much more holistic and specific perspective than you might be used to from a video essay. She has the kind of writing that can make you watch an hour-long video about the narrative problems of Persona 5, even if you've never actually played a Persona game before. But yeah, their stuff is really good. I'll link their channel in the description as well. And lastly, if you think I wasn't going to end this video on elevator music and an end card, then You're wrong.